Hey everyone, Jason Camps here from C Squared Racing, and today we're going to bring you another one of our instructional videos from our development playlist. If you're new to the channel, some of the videos that we do on here, we have a focus on teaching skills. A lot of them focus on things away from the track, such as social media or sponsorship. So if you're interested in learning more about those types of things and improving your skills away from the actual racetrack, which is still a very important part of being a successful race driver or running a race team, go check those videos out. We have a playlist, a development playlist that has all that stuff as well. Today's topic is going to be flags. We want to teach everybody a little bit more about flags. There's lots of stuff out there that'll teach you the ins and outs. Green means go, yellow means slow down. I don't know which flag tells my camera to focus, but if I have one, I'll wave it. Come on, camera. Hey, there I am. Maybe I look better blurry. I'm not sure. But today we want to focus on flags because some of them are not as obvious. There are flags that you see less often than others, and sometimes it's very important to understand how a certain flag gets waved. There's different ways to wave a black flag. There's different ways to wave the yellow flag. Sometimes you don't wave them. Sometimes you show them standing, and it's important to understand what the difference is. Some series use them differently, so we're going to talk about some of that stuff. At the end of this video, we're going to provide a graphic. It's a little worksheet that we worked out that you can just screenshot. You pause the video, screenshot it, print it out. If anybody's interested in getting a higher resolution PDF copy, just get a hold of us and we'll email you one. I think that it has the email address actually on the graphic, so it's my address. Just send me an email, say, hey, send me a better version than the crappy one you put on the end of your YouTube video, and I'll send one out. But well, today that's what it's going to be, flags. If you're interested in flags, don't forget, we recently did a video on the history of the checkered flag that was really, really interesting. We really dug into the origins of where it came from and why it's used the way it is today. Went all the way back to the 1800s. We got real deep into the history, and I'll bet you there's some things on there you didn't know about the most famous racing flag there is. So go check it out. That's part of our History of playlist. If you enjoy this video, be sure to give it a like, and please consider subscribing to the channel. As some of you know who follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and if you do want to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, it's at Jason Camps. But if you do follow me there, you'll notice, you'll remember that I do some flagging with USAC at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. USAC is the United States Auto Club, and they provide all of the corner marshals for road course events at IMS. And so we handle things like IndyCar, SVRA, the Vintage Racing Association. We do Trans Am races, USAC karting events. NASCAR is going to be switching to a road course format at Indianapolis Motor Speedway in 2020, and the USAC guys will be doing that as well. And so I started out doing that. For those that are new in racing and want some interesting experiences, flagging is one of those things that I can honestly tell you was a big help to me as a driver, because I did end up running a race at Indianapolis Motor Speedway as well, and it was super helpful to understand not only where on the track all the flaggers were, knowing where all the positions were, but understanding the protocols in how flags are shown and how communication is handled, and understanding how the track rescue team interacts with the flaggers. If you're a driver, if you've got a local track and that you have the opportunity maybe to do some flagging on a weekend where you've got nothing else going on, ask about joining that team because it'll help you learn about the track. It'll help you learn about the things that go on. A lot of different ways to be involved in motorsports, and even if you want to focus on being a driver or being on a team, knowing those other aspects of the sport really can help you and improve your performance as a driver, as a team member. So, but without further ado, I have got this handy little visual aid from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway gift shop. And we're going to be using these flags today. I don't have a professional set. USAC wouldn't let me borrow a set, so we're going to use these. And this isn't all the flags. These are the most famous ones. These are the ones that you'll see generally at a weekend at a racetrack. But there are a few other flags. The graphic that we're going to give everybody at the end will go into a few of those other ones, and we might touch on them briefly at the end of the video. So stay tuned for that. But we're going to mainly focus on these. We're going to focus on the ones that you're more familiar with. So, and to start the video off, of course, we'll start with the green flag. The green flag is, as most people know, the one that, is this the one that focuses the camera? Hey, look, maybe it is. The green flag is generally used to start races, but there are some other ways in which it's used and some subtleties in which it's used. One of the important things you'll note if you're just starting out in racing is that they will have green flags at every corner. If you're on a road course, if you're on an oval, you really only need to worry about the start-finish line. But on a road course, every flag station should have a green flag, and for many race series, they will wave the green flag for the first lap of the race. It's not to give you a reminder that the race is still underway in case you missed the start-finish line. It's actually to help you learn where all the flag positions are. So as you're going around that first lap, it gives you a chance to say, okay, that's where that flag station is, that's where that flag station is. They can be on both sides of the track. Sometimes they're in positions you wouldn't normally look for because they have certain view lines that they need to maintain. So at the beginning of a race, as you're going around, you know, trying out of the corner of your eye, keep an eye out for where the flags are, because that's where later on your yellows and your reds are going to be. So the other thing that it's important about a green flag is that some race series will use a green flag to follow a local caution. So you may have a incident in a corner that does not bring out a full course caution. It's only a local caution at that area. To let you know that it's okay to speed up again, they will wave the green flag at the next station after that caution. Why this is important is because when this isn't done, the way you know it's okay to speed up is when you get to the first flag station where there is no yellow displayed. Now, on some courses, not every flag station may be manned. And if you run into a situation where you have a flag station that for whatever reason, manpower shortage or whatever, equipment failures, for whatever reason that flag station is not manned and you don't see a yellow flag being waved, it's easy to mistake that for the end of the yellow flag, when in fact the yellow flag may continue to the next station where there is a person. So when there is a green flag telling you without a doubt, yes, you're good to go, that is a nice thing to have. But not all series do that. IndyCar does that, I believe. But always check with your local series rules to see if that happens. If you don't use that protocol and then you don't see the green flag, you have to make sure you know which stations are manned and not manned, because not every station will be manned at every race. So that's the green flag. Another flag that you're going to commonly see at racetracks is the white flag. Now, most people know the white flag as last lap. And at the start-finish line, it is generally what this flag will mean. It'll be the final lap of the race. But there are other ways this is used, and in fact, most of the time this flag is used, it is used at local corner stations to signify slow traffic. A white flag being waved is a way to let drivers know during the race that there may be a car that's off the pace, and to give them a heads up that they will be coming up on it very quickly so that they're not surprised by it. During cautions, it's also very important to wave the white flag to let people know that there may be an ambulance or a tow truck or some other emergency or recovery vehicle that is up ahead of them on the track. So we wave it. Probably most of the time it's being waved for recovery vehicles. If those recovery vehicles stop and the rescue workers get out of the vehicle, then it's different. Then it's a yellow flag, and we'll get to that in a second. But if you're on a track, if you're driving and you see a waving white flag in the middle of the race, that means somebody up ahead of you is going very, very slow, and you need to watch out. Another flag that's used for slow traffic is the blue flag. This particular one is blue with the orange stripe. Sometimes you will see blue with a yellow stripe. In some cases, specifically I think with FIA flags, you will see just a pure blue flag. In Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it's just a blue flag. So if you're used to watching F1 racing, you probably don't see that stripe. But essentially it means the same thing. This is a flag. This is a instructional flag. Some flags are status flags. Green flag, white flag let you know the situation. Some flags are telling you to do something, and this is a flag that is meant to tell a driver to move over because, as race controllers like to joke, there's a race going on and they're not part of it. In other words, you're going slow and there's fast cars coming behind you. Please get out of the way. It can be more authoritative in some series than others. In IndyCar, it's just something to give a driver a heads up. In Formula One, it's a direct command, and if you ignore 3 corners showing you a blue flag, you get penalized. So the way it's shown will matter too. If it's just held out like this, just what we call a standing blue. It says, hey, someone's coming up, be on the lookout, check your mirrors. If it's rocking, you'll get this motion. That means they're a little bit closer, and if someone is waving it vigorously, that means they are rapidly overtaking and you need to get the heck out of the way. So that is an important one. If you're a driver, you want to look for these. They will try and indicate it to just the driver that it's for, but you will see these at any corner at any time. They won't be used for position. So if you're on the lead lap, you're running third, and the fourth place car just got fresh tires and he's coming up quickly, you won't see a blue flag. They won't tell somebody to move over if it means them giving up a position. But if you're off the pace and a lap down and the leaders are coming up behind you, you will definitely get shown a blue flag as they approach you. The red flag. This can mean different things in different series, and this is definitely one of the flags. We'll let the camera focus again. Hello, there I am again. This is one of the flags that you're definitely going to want to make sure you check with your local series rules, because this can be different in different situations. If you're used to watching NASCAR races, you know when they bring out the red flag, the cars generally stop on track. But in some series, the red flag means slow down and come back around to the pit entrance and pit. So it's very important to know which one that is when you see this on track. So make sure to check, but essentially red means something serious is happening, full track blockage, and they don't want you to proceed. And this one will generally get waved pretty vigorously because they want to make sure you see this. If you're an autocrosser, this will be the only flag that we're going to talk about today that you will ever see. The only flag used in autocrossing is the red flag, at least with the SECA. And essentially this just means wherever you are, come to a complete stop. Don't go any further, because there's something ahead of you that we don't want you to run into. So you'll see that if you're an SECA solo driver, this is the only flag you got to worry about. Another instructional flag that you don't ever want to see is the black flag. And my flagging friends will give me a hard time about this because they've shown me this a number of times. So I know this one pretty well. The black flag, and we'll talk about another version of this as well, but in some racing series you only have the one black flag. There's other series that have different variations of black and you know, flags that are black with other patterns or designs on them. But essentially this means you've done something bad. This generally means that there's been a penalty. And there's only two places you're going to see a black flag. The main place is at the start-finish line, and then a lot of times there will be a corner that may be a couple of stops before the start-finish line, or a couple corners before the start-finish line, I should say, and they will show it there to you as well. And the reason is that it's usually the first corner before, or I should say last corner before pit in. And they want you to pit. When you get the black flag, they're telling you to pit. So they give you the black flag before you get to pit lane so that you get off the track as quickly as possible. There are different ways they can show this to you. When they want you to pit immediately, they will wave it at you, and they will usually hold up a chalkboard or some other kind of number board that says your number on it. And that says that it's you. And they will usually try and point at you. They will hold this out and they will point at you as you drive by. One exception to that, though, is if it is furled. If it is rolled up and then they point it at you, that's a warning. That means you did something you shouldn't do. Hopefully somebody on the radio is telling you what that is. But that means you don't have to come into the pits yet, but hey, watch out. That's your warning. Some of the variations that you get on the black flag are the black flag with, there'll be an orange circle in the middle, and we call that the meatball. That means you're being flagged specifically, not for a penalty, not for a violation, but because you have something mechanically wrong with your car. You may be putting down smoke, you may have a bit of body work hanging off, something may be wrong. So you have something mechanically wrong with your car, they are letting you know. Sometimes those are actually requested by the team if they have a radio failure. They may go to the track and say, hey, we need you to put the meatball out for our car because we can't tell him to come in and there's something wrong. Another version of the black flag is the, it'll be diagonally separated, half black, half white. And that means you've done something unsportsmanlike. That is an unsportsmanlike flag. Same thing, they will put it out with a number board and you are to come in immediately. In some series, a black flag is a disqualification. In some cases, it's a pit, and then you get a penalty. It depends. Again, that's another one. Definitely want to read your rule book. Make sure you understand what the black flag means and how you respond to it appropriately in your particular series. So it's important. If you ignore it completely, they'll just stop scoring you and disqualify you. But a lot of times it's for your own good to come in, because it can mean that there's something wrong with your car as well. Like I said, not everybody uses the meatball. Sometimes they will just use this flag. I think NASCAR only uses the straight black flag. So they will, if you have a mechanical failure, you'll see the regular black flag, the same as if you've committed a penalty of some sort. So again, make sure you're familiar with your series specific rules on that. The big one we want to talk about is the yellow flag. So this one can mean a lot of different things depending on how it's used. The short answer is it's the caution flag. It means that something has happened on track and we want you to slow down. If it's an oval race, such as, say, NASCAR usually is, it'll be waved at the start-finish line, and it essentially is a full course caution. Everybody needs to slow down. There's usually a certain speed, no passing. Sometimes they want you to maintain a gap. Sometimes you're allowed to bunch up. Again, it depends on the series. Make sure you know your series rules. It gets a little more complicated with road courses, though. Road courses, because they are allowed to have local cautions, you may see this at a particular corner station, and it may only apply to that sector of the track. It could be that corner, a couple of corners, but you only have to slow down in that part of the track. Once you're out of the area that's affected by the yellow, you're allowed to speed back up and continue racing. The way that it's shown to you by the corner marshals will tell you what the situation is. So the first way they'll show it to you is standing. They will simply hold the flag out. What that means is there's an incident where a car is stopped. Remember, that's a big thing, is it means it's stopped. If the car is still rolling, it'll be a white flag. But if the car has come to a stop, that's when the marshals will move to a yellow. If it is stopped off track, if it's off in the grass or off in just somehow off the racing surface, they will do a standing yellow. So it's in a place where you could hit it, but if you just keep all four wheels on the track, you should be fine. So it's just telling you to, hey, keep an eye out for it. You want to make sure that guy could be coming back onto the track without warning. So even though he's off the track, you still want to be careful and not be too aggressive through that area. It could also mean that there are emergency vehicles that are on the way. So by the time you get there, there could be people pulling up and getting out of their cars. When that happens, when emergency workers are at the scene and out of their vehicles, that standing will always be a yellow, regardless of whether they're off track or not. Now, other than that, if a car has come to a stop on the race surface and they are blocking some or all of the race surface, and you may have to take evasive action or take a different line to get through that zone, then it will be a waving yellow. Now, in some cases, when you have a waving yellow, to give an extra bit of warning, the next station upstream will put out a standing yellow, a backup yellow. I think IndyCar does that. Not all series do, though. So, for example, if there is a car that has spun out and stalled and they are sitting in the middle of turn 6 at whatever racetrack, the turn 5 may put out a standing yellow, while turn 6 will be waving yellow, and then turn 7 may be green if it's something, like I said, like IndyCar. If you're on a road course and you see a double yellow flag, I don't have two yellow flags, so I will show you a yellow and a white. But what you will often see is the corner marshals will usually put them together like this, and they'll roll them a few times, and they will try and grab the corners, and they will hold them like this to the drivers. This is kind of the way you'll see it. You'll see something similar at the start-finish line. So pretend these two are yellow. When you see that double yellow flag, that means that it is a full course caution. So if you have an incident that is significant enough that they really need access to the entire track in order to clean it up or to rescue drivers, maybe there's a significant injury, then you'll see the double. In some race series where they use the safety car designation, you will also see at the start-finish line sometimes an indication of SC. That stands for safety car. But a double yellow flag is pretty much the same thing. And again, that can differ from series to series, so I know I sound like a broken record, but check with your rule book, make sure you know what your local series rules are. Another flag that you might see that I don't unfortunately have a little miniature version of is the surface flag. The surface flag is a red and yellow striped flag that will be put out whenever track conditions change that might affect the traction that the drivers would have on the road. So if, for instance, a car puts down oil, if a piece of debris is on the track, if it's raining, if it's just started to rain, and the drivers might not yet be aware that there might be a section of the track that's starting to get wet and slippery, that would be a time when a marshal would put out a surface flag just to let everyone know, hey, it might be a little slick through this section. We have one more of the main flags, but I don't want to talk about it just yet because I want to end on that one, because you know which flag it is, and you save that one for the end. So I want to talk about a couple more of the more obscure flags that you might come into contact with if you're running in a certain series or at a certain track. One is a white flag with a red cross. If you see a white flag with a red cross, that specifically means that there are emergency workers on the track. Most tracks will essentially handle the same thing with the white and the yellow flags, but some tracks may have specifically the white flag with the red cross. It looks very much like a red cross, as in the charity Red Cross. It looks very much like that. Another flag you might see, I mentioned with the black flag that if you don't respond to it after a while, you just stop getting scored. There's actually a special flag for that. Once they've stopped scoring you, there is a black flag with a white diagonal cross. It looks a little bit like the Scottish flag, except it's black and white. That just tells you that we're not keeping track of you anymore. Your race is over, because you didn't come in for your black flag. So you don't see that a lot. I can't say I've ever actually seen that on the track, but that is another one of the black flag series that you might see. There's some other ones that can be either pink or purple, and they're called a code 60 or code 35, something along those lines. Internationally, you may see a code 60. It is sort of a pink or purple flag with a number 60 in the middle, surrounded by a circle, and then kind of a cross. And again, there's a picture of that on the graphic that we'll put at the end here. I don't have one. It wasn't in our souvenir kit of flags because it's a little obscure. But if you see that, it's basically similar to a yellow flag. It's telling you need to slow down to 60 kilometers per hour. It's generally used internationally. And they want you to maintain the distance, so you don't bunch up when you see that flag. You slow down to that speed, and you maintain whatever that gap is between you and the next car. You maintain that gap. Virginia International Raceway has a version of that called Code 35. It looks very much like the same flag, except instead of a 60, it's a 35, and it's 35 miles per hour. Pretty much the same thing, though. So those are some flags that you may see at very specific places, at very specific tracks, but they're not kind of part of the standard set. I've never used them personally, but if you see them, don't be surprised by them. And again, the graphic that we're going to provide at the end of this video has all of those lesser popular flags in there so that you will have that information. But there's one flag left, as we said, and it is the flag. If you haven't seen our history video, please go watch that. We really think you'll enjoy it. And if you have watched it, you know all about it. It is the famous checkered flag. The history of the checkered flag is incredibly interesting. However, its use is sort of basic. It's used to end races. There's not much more to talk about than that. But it got a little more interesting with NASCAR moving to stage racing and having a green and white checkered flag that they wave at the end of stages. And then, of course, they have the regular black and white checkered flag that they wave at the end of the race to let everyone know that we have a winner, collect your belongings, and start to head home. That is the end of the race, and this is also the end of the video. So we hope you've learned everything you need to know about flags. If not, consult your series rulebooks and make sure to screenshot that graphic at the end of our video so that you'll have that as an easy reference. And we'll see you on the next lap. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.